And it is that time again. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the only show in the world that combines sports and wrestling all at the same time. It is the Coach and Bro Show. I am your host, the Coach, and it has been an unbelievable weekend in the world of football and in the world of pro wrestling. But I can't talk about it all by myself. My partner, as always, one of the great names, legendary names in the world of pro wrestling. He is Mr. Vince Russo from russosbrand.com. Hello once again, sir.
How you doing, Coach? And I do want to say on top, listen, a lot of people sometimes get at me, negative tape, man, you're negative, blah, 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 blah. What they don't listen to is how I am always hard on myself first.
That's true.
Okay, I can laugh at myself. So I just want to say off the top of the show, these are mamby-pamby glasses. I am wearing women-colored mamby-pamby. And you know what, Coach? I have no problem with that. I have no problem with. So if anybody wants to call me out for these mamby-pamby glasses, I've no problem, Coach.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that you are able to laugh at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because last week you were not laughing when you got on me and producer man for your record that you had for the week. That we didn't celebrate it. We didn't give anything for you. So Vince, I want you to know that this week, that is not the case. This week, before we even get started, the legendary handicapper that he is, we wanted to truly, visually celebrate the week that you had with your incredible NFL picks. So, producer man, if you don't mind, what do we have for Vince Russo today and how he did this week with his NFL? Delay. Wah, 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 wah. So everything we had prepared, it's a new platform, Vince. So now you can laugh at us.
Yeah, because what Coach was talking about was all rumor and hearsay. My record this week has already been wiped. Coach, my record was wiped. I made sure it was wiped in every record book, newspaper, social media site, you name it. It's wiped. It's
Did you really think I was going to
do?
do that to you?
It's nowhere to be. I would have done it to me. I would have done it to me.
How it goes. We would never, ever tease you about
Coach,
a 1 in 5.
I will throw this out there. I have not had a win since Thursday, which means I was 0-5 yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
0 and freaking 5, Coach.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Because guess what? A lot of people around this great country of ours, they lost because they're going by trends. And this is why the NFL historically, Vince, has always been the hardest league in the world to bet on. Because these are pros.
Yeah.
You know, like I always say, somebody that I adore loves to say, where the pros are the pros. And these are NFL guys. They play for a living. And they understand if they don't play well, they don't get everything they have, that next year they will not have a job. And they'll have to go work a 9 to 5. And that's why it's so hard. But we're going to start with my guys. And Vince, I grew up in Kansas. My parents still live 2.5 hours straight. If you come out of Arrowhead Stadium, where the game is tonight, and you just start driving west to your city, Denver, Colorado, you will drive right past my parents' house in Salina, Kansas. That's how much I love the Kansas City Chiefs. And tonight, they have a chance to win their 14th game in a row. They are the only undefeated team in the NFL left at all. Now, the Bucs, they're nothing to sleep on, but they've lost a lot of their weapons. Yeah. They're the only team this year to beat the Detroit Lions, which are the second highest betting favorite behind the Chiefs to win the whole damn thing. So this is a good football team, or was. So as we look at it, the number at DraftKings has been hovering around 9 and the over around 45.5. I know you've done a lot of deep research. What are you seeing on tonight's game?
You know, Coach, this surprised me because I knew it wasn't a lot, but this surprised me. Patrick Mahomes, 8 touchdown passes in 7 games.
That's correct.
Now, Coach, this is the one trend that has been the most consistent all year. I'm sorry. If there's one trend, it's this one. And the trend is the Chiefs do just enough to win. They play good enough to win. And when I see 9 points, when I see anything over a touchdown, I am taking the opposing team. So I am taking the Buccaneers. I know they got their wide receivers hurt, but I'm taking the Buccaneers. I'm taking the 9 points minus 110.
I am shocked that you were able to find that type of a trend. I have been so impressed by you and you always come from a fan perspective, but you really are becoming a really sharp handicapper. And historically, since Patrick Mahomes took over, they do not cover the number. Now, this year they are 5-2, but there have been some ugly numbers like 4.5, 3.5, because they brought the number down, because historically it's
Right.
always been the 8, 9, 10 that
Right.
we have tonight, to your point.
Yes.
Last week, what happened? They were giving 10.
Yep.
I played the Chiefs. They were up 14, minute and a half to go. The Raiders score a late touchdown, and that's how easy it is not to cover. But I think you're missing another significant trend when you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm shocked, Vince, that you didn't bring this one up.
Taylor. Taylor's not going to the game tonight.
Well, Vince, not only that, but she is smack dab in the middle of her final leg of her Eras tour. And so Saturday night in the little sweet Indianapolis, Indiana, who was there in person to watch his boo take it down in Indianapolis, as he has a game Monday night at home. And I got scolded. They said, Coach, do you know it only takes about an hour on a private jet to go from Kansas City to Indianapolis and back? And you could even go out on a date night, and you could drive more than an hour for that. Am I crazy to think that Travis Kelce should be focused on his undefeated football team in Kansas City, not traveling to watch his boo, which he's done this entire 2024 season?
Coach, I am with you that is Sissy Mary, girly man, mamby-pamby. Who's wearing the pants in that relationship, first of all? Who's wearing the pants? That's weak, Coach. That's weak. Like, seriously? Really?
I'm partly kidding, but I'm partly not. And you mentioned wearing the pants. Well, Travis is wearing the pants, but they're pants that she bought him. Reportedly, she has given him, I kid you not, she's given him over $500,000 since they met to upgrade his wardrobe. That's a true story.
Now I may take some of the things I said back, because if he, I was going to say, if he's milking her out of 500 G's, he doesn't need the money. So, I'm sure that's not what's going on, but that's weird, Coach.
It is kind of weird, but sometimes I've seen that in shows a lot. And when you've got a wealthy female, and this is probably why she's been through, 10, 15 celebrity boyfriends, is they love to, that's how they show their affection, is by buying them clothes and buying them things. Now, he did cost himself $6 or $7 million. He lived in Kansas City in a high rise, no security, because even Patrick Mahomes the first couple of years had no security. Because in Kansas City, we treat people right.
Yeah.
But then he had to buy a $7 million mansion behind gates once he started dating Taylor, because she needed her security parked on the street in black Suburbans. That's not too obvious. And so he had to spend $7 million to date her.
I don't know about it. It just seems to me like he is not focused on football. He's not focused on the Chiefs. You're running here. You're running. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And when you look at his last 2 games, he's starting to pick it up. So he had 10 catches, 90 yards last week against the Raiders. Good game. Against the 49ers, not great. 4 for 17 yards. But against the Saints, he had 9 for 70. But this is very un-Travis Kelce-like, is it not? And for people who tell us, Vince, we talk about it because it's fun. This is the fun. To me, it's fun. But when you have a chance to win 3 Super Bowls in a row, and you've got a lot of young cats on your team, and they're looking up at you, you're a captain, your best friend is number 15, Patrick Mahomes. It's just not a good look to be going all over the place during the season.
And think about this. Coach, you and I were in many, many, many a wrestling locker room. Think about what they're talking about in that locker room. Thinking about what they're saying behind. You've got world-class athletes that their entire lives, man, eat, drink, sleep, and you know what? Football, man. Since they were 3-4-year-old kids. Football, football, football. Bro, it's not all year round. There's a season, man. There's a season, and you make a commitment to that season. Sounds like there's a lot of distractions going on in his life, man.
But if you're Andy Reid, how do you go to him? Because I see both sides of it. How do you go to him other than, well, you came in really out of shape, and I was the only one on national media that talked about this, that because we've traveled extensively overseas, The Rock has done a whole video on this. And Kelce in the offseason went to Australia, Japan, Europe a couple of times, Vegas 5 times, 5 times to Vegas, 5. And The Rock has said when he lands in a foreign country, what's the first thing he does? Because of jet lag, goes straight to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's not what Travis does, because he's going to these places to see his boo. And so if you're traveling for 7 months, how are you even staying in shape, let alone getting in shape? And we saw it at the beginning of the season when he did nothing.
Yeah.
2 catches, 1 catch, 2 catches. That was the start of his season. I just think it's a bad look. And I think if he really thinks about it, and if they're going to be together forever, Vince, then he's got maybe this year and maybe next year. Then he's done. He's 35, 36 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the highest paid tight end in football. There's a responsibility there.
Yeah.
Because other tight ends, what if you're George Kittle and you're making $14 million and you've got the numbers that you do, and then Travis, he gets to that age and then all of a sudden he doesn't produce. Now, does George Kittle get $18 million a year?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility.
Right, yeah.
So this story goes deeper though, Vince. And this is actually a negative. Did you see the fight that his brother?
That I saw. Yes, I did. Yes.
Woo! I hate the word that was thrown around in that video. I really, really do. I don't like any racial slurs or homophobic. I hate them. Oh God, do I hate them. But Jason Kelce, as I'm watching the video, he's at Penn State. His brother is, in Indiana, and he gets called the F word, and he turns around, smashes a phone, and Vince, a couple of things. He's so overexposed at this point, it's ridiculous. He's on every show. It's awful.
I saw them. I saw them on a cereal box the other day. I'm like, really?
It's awful. They hired. So I don't know if you know this. They hired these 2 guys 3 years ago, and these 2 guys are trying to make a name for themselves. They said, we're going to make superstars out of these 2, and they've done it. They have done it. But they've taken every deal they could possibly get their hands on, including the cereal, and $100 million for their podcast, which we're going to get to someday with the Coach and Bro Show. But if you're at that level, you cannot be walking into a stadium all by yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when your brother is dating Taylor Swift, because somebody's going to come after you. Now, is it right? No, but that's what happens. So do you think that he should be reprimanded, punished, and or fired, any of the 3 by ESPN?
You got to give somebody a warning, Coach. You got you can't just fire them out of the gate for doing something like that. Maybe it was a weak moment, maybe he wasn't thinking. You got to give them a warning. But Coach, this is what this all goes back to, man. Listen, we speculated early on that perhaps this match was put together between Kelce and Taylor Swift so they could both benefit. Remember, we talked about, Kelce, Taylor never, ever promoting the vaccination. All of a sudden, Kelce's doing commercials and they're dating the next week. There was a lot of speculation. But here's my point, Coach. They made this relationship public. She's at every game. She's in the box. They made it public. Come on, man. There are celebrities doing the hey nanny with each other that we know nothing about, Coach. I mean, there's stories about Kutcher and Rihanna. Celebrities hook up all the time, and a lot of times they keep it private. Kelce, both Kelces, they put it out there. They made this public, man. When you're making it public, there's going to be scrutiny. What do you expect? This is what they wanted, and this is what they're getting, Coach.
Nobody's going to feel sorry for them.
No,
and nobody
absolutely.
A relationship adjacent is going to feel sorry for them. Part of the reason their podcast took off is because of Travis and So Jason is going to make all this money after he's going to make more post football than he made playing football. I
Right,
mean, it was
right.
like 33 million. So when that happens and you're into this universe, there are certain things that you cannot do. And that's just it. You cannot walk around by yourself, certainly not at a Penn State football game, and then turn around and slam a phone into the ground and yell that same word that you got pissed off at back at the kid who is probably 18 or 19 years old. And you've got to be bigger than that. You just have to be bigger than that. But Vince, I think that's a great point. That there is Christian McCaffrey plays for
Yeah.
the 49ers, of course.
Yep.
So he's been dating the super famous, they're now married, Olivia Culpo is her name, right? So the only reason you even knew they were dating is she had a reality show with her sisters. And she even said on the reality show, he does not want to be on the show. He doesn't want me talking about a relationship. And you knew nothing.
Right. Yep.
You knew nothing.
Yep.
It's possible. But this to me is a lot on Taylor, is because Travis's old relationships were all like dating shows that he did. But Taylor's always had this me, dating little tiny dudes, actors, musicians, never had like an A-list star stud. She wanted to show this out.
Yeah.
This is on her and her people.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for none of them.
But he went along with it.
100%.
Yeah.
Because, he landed a unicorn. I mean, she's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He is, and I'm not saying money is everything, but let's be honest. If you're meeting somebody, you fall in love with them, and they're a billionaire, God bless them. Now you've hit the jackpot. And that's what he did. He'll never admit it's about money, but don't tell me that it doesn't help. Don't tell me it doesn't help. Now, I want to ask you this, Vince, as we go into our next game. I do believe the Detroit Lions are the best team in all of the NFL. Certainly in the NFC, 7-1. Can you imagine, as we take this storyline throughout all of these different games, if you're the Lions, you're 7-1, the Lions have a Monday night game. Do you think Dan Campbell, Mr. We're together in the locker room, do you think that he would publicly and privately put up with Amon-Ra St. Brown traveling to Indianapolis to watch his girlfriend in a concert 2 days before the game? I doubt that he would.
Yeah.
And they got it done again Sunday against the Packers. They're now all alone at the top of the NFC North.
Yeah. But then again, the what's his name? The chief coach,
Andy Reid.
He's doing his own commercials, coach.
Yeah, but I mean, those are fun. Those are fun.
Still, that's taken away from football a little bit.
No, because they shoot all of those
Off-season?
in the off season.
Okay.
They shoot them in April, May, and June. They don't
Yeah.
do them during the season. Yeah.
I got you. But these man, I was actually listening to this game because I was in transit, and I got to tell you, man, listening to this game, there was that pick six right before halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And that did them in, man. That took the wind out of their sails. Bro, the Packers had 150 more yards than the Lions, but of course they were playing catch up at the end. That had a lot to do with it. And also, man, it just seems every time the Packers had a chance to get back in this game, there was a miscue, there was a penalty, there was something that happened every time they had a chance to get back in this game. And also, too, man, the weather conditions here did not help, Coach, for this game.
And Dan Campbell said afterwards in the locker room, and I've really come to look forward to the post-game in the locker when he gives the game balls out. It's so inspirational.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I not want to play for a coach like this? And he said, guys, we're built for any weather.
Yeah.
Dome, rain, snow, it doesn't matter. We're tough. And when you got a coach who played in the league, who battled his way up to become a head coach, like I think 10 or 12 years as an assistant coach, and he's not the smartest cat in the room. But damn it, he's a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He is a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And he is turning into a really good head coach. And on top of that, Vince, now you have players from other places saying, I want to go play for him. And that's how you start to build a really good franchise. That's not just about, do we have a quarterback we can afford and get in that 4-year window? Now you've got guys wanting to come, sacrificing a little bit of money to win a chip.
Reputation, man. Reputation is everything. And it's funny, coach, because one of my losses was the Packers, and I thought weather was gonna be a part of that, man.
Mhm.
Going to Lambeau, we're in November. They're used to I thought, but it went the other way in this game.
Well, you actually handicapped it perfectly. The weather did play a factor. That's why the under came in.
Yeah.
Because in Vegas, a lot of people bet the over, but
Yeah.
because of the weather, so you were spot on. You were spot on. You just had the wrong team.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Next game. Speaking of not knowing who somebody is, man, I am becoming a Jayden Daniels fan. This kid coming off the Hail Mary against the Bears, no interceptions, and for rookie quarterbacks, Vince, no interceptions in a game is really, really what you want. You don't need a ton of passing yards. 209. He does throw 2 interceptions, 0 INTs. He's got three guys with over 40 yards receiving. This is a team that at 7-2, I'm really starting to believe in. But Vince, they've got another team that they're just barely ahead of, the Philadelphia Eagles. So do you believe in the Commanders right now as a solid first place team?
Well, listen, man, a lot of people going into this year didn't forget about the 7-2. They thought the Commanders were going to be a bad team.
Yes, they were.
And they have not, coach. They have not really played a bad game. Every time I see something like this, coach, here's what I always look at, because, it's prevalent in the playoffs. What happens when we come down to crunch time? What happens when we get to the end of the schedule where these games really matter? That's what really separates the men from the boys. And I'm eager to see, man, if they're going head to head with the Eagles towards the end of the season. I'm just going to go with the Eagles based on experience and the players that have been there. Because 7-2, it's not that it's early in the season, but it's not do or die yet. I want to see how this team plays when there's really pressure on them.
By the way, you mentioned the Eagles. Did you happen to see the run by Saquon Barkley? Did you see the video of that?
I did not see the video, no.
So they're calling it, perhaps, and when we get done with the show, I want you to go and look it up. They're calling it the greatest 14-yard run in the history of the NFL. It was the most insane run you've ever seen. And it's funny that the Giants, who the Commanders beat, they gave up on Saquon, and now he looks like the best running back in all of football. He did this thing, Vince, where he catches the ball in the left flat, and then he runs up, does the spin cycle, and the guy, reaches for nothing, and then he's turned backwards to the end zone. He jumps backwards, and a guy goes underneath him, and he leapfrogs him backward, which I've never seen before. He leapfrogs him backwards and gets another 3 or 4 yards. Insane.
I got
absolutely insane.
Yeah, I didn't see that, Coach, but I was reading an article today, like his teammates are talk about the difference between him and Kelce. His teammates, I'm reading, are just in absolute awe of what he's doing on the field.
Because he's all in.
Yeah,
and that's the problem that Kelce is standing behind 3 Super Bowls. I've got my rings. I'm one of the greatest. Saquon's never been there because he was a Giant. And can you imagine Daniel Jones makes $40 million a year?
Oh, my gosh.
And you're playing a guy yesterday in Jayden Daniels, who I think is like $2.5, $3 million.
Yeah.
He makes $38 million more than Jayden Daniels.
And the thing with the Giants, man, I'm telling you, there were 2 things. They had the early fumble off the bat to set the tone, and then that big play before the half with 20 seconds to go. With the Giants offense, you can't afford turnovers. You can't afford big plays. You have turnovers and big plays, you're going to be 2-7, whatever they are at this point. They can't when your offense is that weak, you can't afford that, man.
You can't afford it. And now you got teams like the Giants, like the Browns, like I'm trying to think of somebody else, that they are now cash-strapped because they've got a really high-paid quarterback. They've got a lot of injuries, and they're just making too many mistakes.
Yeah.
So they're also not getting players to want to come there and play.
Yeah.
So that, it's tough. It's tough. Next game, Dolphins and the Bills. And the Bills now have quietly, Vince, over at DraftKings, they're now the 4th highest for odds to win the whole thing, behind the Chiefs, the Lions, the Ravens, and now the Bills. So they win 30-27. But as you look at how the game played out, there were 24 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Right.
And Tua's back, but the Bills now at 7-2 are starting to show me maybe they are something. But Vince, just like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen has played in the Patrick Mahomes era. And they're 2 games back of the Chiefs for that number 1 seed, and there's only one bye. And so no matter how good they are, people are saying, you know what? Let's wait till the playoffs because Josh Allen can't beat number 15. That's what it is.
He hasn't beat number 15. And again, he had a great game yesterday. I was, saw 3 TDs, 25 for 39, 235 yards. Yeah. That's what it comes down to, Coach. I don't think it was a question to anybody that the Bills weren't going to get there. I think we all knew they were going to get there, but are they going to go beyond, being able to upset the Chiefs? That's what it all comes down to.
I don't know that I've ever seen, and I guess you can go back to Tom Brady, Vince, that when you have a quarterback that's so good and a team that's so good, and then you've got the 2 or 3 other best in your conference, and now you get into the discussion where, because you see it all the time in baseball. You're our baseball guy. You say, wow, the regular season means nothing. You never hear that in the NFL, but you're hearing it now because these are quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, they're talking about him, 3rd MVP. But what happened last year in the playoffs? Couldn't beat the Chiefs in Baltimore. And the Chiefs, who'd they beat the week before that? The Bills in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes is just better than everybody else. So now these quarterbacks have got to get through the regular season, and then they've got to say, all right, when we get to the playoffs, somebody's got to beat this guy. And right now they can't. And so this is just fun to talk about, but it's all window dressing. It's all window dressing.
Because again, every time I watch a Chief game, I'm like, this team is on cruise control.
I know.
That's why I think once they get to the playoffs and they go into that next gear, I just think these teams aren't ready for them.
I agree. Crazy. I agree. Real quick, it just came into my mind because the Chiefs, and this is unheard of, having a 2-game lead for the number 1 seed in week 9. Unheard of. So they could be 8-0 tonight. So they still have to play the Broncos, who are terrible. They lost by 31 yesterday. They play at Buffalo because it's the other part of it that makes Mahomes so great is the way they put the schedule together. So if you're a first place team, you have to play what they call a first place schedule. So you're playing the other first place teams every year. That's why Brady always played against Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And that's what made what Brady did so remarkable. They're trying to even it out so other teams make the playoffs. That's what it's for. Yeah. And so they play at the Bills. Then they go to the Panthers because they're playing the NFC South this year. Then the Raiders come. Chargers come. They go to the Browns. Then the Texans come. And then they go to the Steelers and to the Broncos. Vince, outside of the Bills game, the Chiefs might go undefeated.
I know. I mean, when you were rattling off that schedule, that's what I'm like, is this team going to go undefeated?
It's incredible. It's incredible. But that's, sometimes that's how the chips fall. A team that's not undefeated, but a team that is by far, and I don't know why this is, Vince. You talk about a unicorn when you're an organization, the Dallas Cowboys. And they've got the highest paid quarterback, $60 million a year. And Vince, when you are the quarterback of the star, and you come out with a hamstring injury, wouldn't you think that every or at least several cameras would be on you the entire time?
I would think so. Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if you saw this video. He got cameras on him, and you could clearly read his lips. Clear as day.
We effing
suck. Oh my God, Vince, you're making $60 million. You're the face. You're the quarterback for the franchise. You can't say that on camera.
Coach, last week, we had a chance to win the game against the Niners. And Prescott shit the bed.
They had the ball 3 minutes to go.
This game, they trailed by 1 score 3 times. They can't get it done. That's not being able to get it. When you've got 3 opportunities to take the lead and you can't get it done, Coach, wow.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Terrible,
And now not
man.
only does he's going to have an MRI on his hamstring, and now CD Lamb, their best receiver, who got his money, hours before also, he's going to have an MRI. And Vince, we're coming off a week where a defensive back got into a fight with a little tiny reporter in Dallas who wrote something about his lack of effort. And Vince showed his cards by coming out of the locker room in his pads, which means he had to go on social media immediately when going into said locker room.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing after a loss? You're looking on social media to see what people are saying about you?
Coach, something's got to give here. This I think this was my favorite statistic of the day. What's the Falcons' record now?
6-3.
Okay, so in their first 8 games, Coach, they had 6 sacks in their first 8 games. They got 3 against the Cowboys.
Oh my God!
So it's not just Prescott. I mean, it's the offensive. Oh my! So, Coach, something's got to give here, man.
It all starts from the top down, and if you're Jerry Jones, Vince, it would be like us. I don't know. It'd be like us trying to run a new wrestling company because we had all the money in the world, and we were picking out good star players, but we didn't know how to put them together. Oh, wait. It'd be like us trying to run AEW. That's exactly what it would be like, Vince.
Yeah, that sounded very familiar when you were
very
doing it,
familiar.
Wait a minute. I know this story. Yeah.
It is. I mean, there's been a lot of guys make a lot of money from Jerry Jones over the years. Yeah. And Jerry Jones loves to be that guy to brag about, I've got the highest paid this, I got the highest paid that. And he has been good at drafting good players. But Vince, we know this, whether it's a wrestling company, whether it's an NFL team, you got to have players that play together.
Yes,
and you got to have cohesion. They have it in Detroit. They've never had that in Dallas.
Yeah.
They have good players. That's it.
That is everything. I think people underestimate team chemistry, Coach. I really do. I think chemistry is the most important thing. That's why so many times you'll see top teams getting knocked off. It's that team chemistry. I think that's why the Dodgers didn't win the World Series for so many years. I just don't think they had that chemistry. But this year they had it. But yeah, it is underrated in my opinion.
That is where we need to put a pin in it. Congratulations, by the way, to the Dodgers for getting the job done, winning the World Series. But by the way, because I'm one of those sickos that will do, you know how your algorithm on your social media will, if you look up something, like I look up working out because I'm trying to get in better shape, then all of a sudden you're getting all these idiots that tell you how to do push-ups and sit-ups. Yeah. And I started doing crazy videos. So I started getting a lot. Did you see this Dodgers fan? I don't know if you saw this. So this Dodgers fan with a buddy on a corner in downtown LA decided he wanted to set off a firecracker. He had it in his hand and didn't drop it. And all of a sudden, the first video is like 15 yards behind. Boom! And he's like, oh, like almost like you slam your finger in a door. Like he's like, oh. And then over the course of the next few hours, Vince, all these other videos started popping up. Vince, he blew half of his hand off.
Oh my!
It was like, and then oh my God, almost made me throw up. And then I watched it 10 times.
Coach, let me top that because I don't know if you've seen this latest fad. You know, I do my show with Al Snow every Thursday, and
Love Al.
Yep. In these videos of what the crazies are doing on the independent scene. Coach, they are laying firecrackers on each other's backs and setting them off. And this hasn't just happened once. This is starting to become a trend. They're using firecrackers in their matches now, Coach.
I don't want to hear anybody ask for sympathy or, oh, we didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's like they're all watching videos from 1998 and say, yeah, let's top that and let's be noticed. I never understand in this whole scheme or this whole social media world, Vince, why do they think that any attention is going to get them to the WWE? Or is going to get them?
That you and I both know that kind of attention certainly isn't going to get them to the WWE.
It doesn't sell. All it does is hurt yourself. Yeah. And by the way, I did see because if people go over to Backstage Pass, you get another 20 or 30 minutes of us talking wrestling, and we are the premier voices and minds of professional wrestling, even in 2024. But I saw you, kind of a little tease, you tweeted out because you work with Rocky Mountain Wrestling. Do I have that correct? Right?
Rocky Mountain
And,
Pro. Rocky Mountain
sorry, Rocky Mountain Pro.
Yeah.
And this last week, WWE put out this thing where all of these independent schools are going to be a feeder system to the WWE for, quote, so we can find the best independent talent out there. Well, it just so happens that all of those schools are ran by current WWE superstars.
Yep.
Coincidence? Okay. But doesn't mean they aren't good schools. Doesn't mean they can't find good talent.
Right.
But you said, what about Rocky Mountain Pro? Which begs the question, are they going to look at all schools or just schools that are run by their current talent?
Hey, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, Coach. I mean, because first of all, the reason I threw that out there was Rocky Mountain Pro actually has a weekly television show. We shoot TV.
Really?
I mean, and from what I understand, these other schools that they chose don't. But Booker might have a show maybe once every 2 weeks. Booker has a show, but it's weekly TV, and to me, that is the most important thing.
Got to learn how to wrestle on TV. I know when I used to work with Al all the time, he always used to say that about Ohio Valley Wrestling. There is no substitute to learning how to work on TV. There are house shows and there is TV. You got to know where your face is going to look, looking into the camera. If there's a big spot, making sure the camera is where it needs to be. That's what you do all afternoon long if you're in the WWE.
Yep.
You're going over your matches so you can see the emotion.
Yep.
All of it.
Yeah.
I'll give Booker credit. I'll give individually Booker a lot of credit. I know he's been grinding with that school for years and years and years.
He has been, yeah.
And so I think for those of us that start new shows like us, we're only 10 weeks in. There is this mindset of we got to be making millions of dollars in 6 months.
Oh yeah, no,
and that's not the way it works. You got to grind it out.
Right.
Sometimes years before you make a dime.
Yeah.
Sometimes years.
Yeah.
And so good for those schools
Yep.
to be that feeder system, because that will only add to how many kids come and pay them to work out there, because it's a business.
Hey, Coach, if I'm the WWE, I would want one of those. I would want one in every state. I would
50.
want one in every single state. Absolutely.
Are there that many wrestling school? There are.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
All
yep.
Right. Well, maybe it'll grow. Maybe it'll be the first thing. Got to give him a lot of credit. All right, that'll be the sports side of things here at the Coach and Bro Show. But do not forget, go over to Backstage, our Patreon page. If you go on Sportskeeda.com wrestling page, you can find Backstage everywhere, and you get a lot more wrestling discussion just like that over there. But for now, enjoy Monday Night Football, depending on when you are watching this, and the Chiefs continue to be the #1 team in the NFL. Take care.